For the past few months, the crew of the Endurance have searched for the lost kingdom of Yamatai, but has come away empty-handed so far. With no other options and their funding about to run out, they decide to follow an idea raised by a young archaeologist named Lara Croft, taking them into a fearsome spot in the ocean known as the Dragon's Mouth. As soon as they arrive, their ship gets caught in a storm, leaving its crew stranded on an unknown island. Surrounded by vicious beasts and hunted by the island's insane inhabitants, Lara is going to have to overcome her fears and trust her instincts if she's to have any hope of survival.
You can do it, Laura. After all, you're a Croft.
I don't think I'm that kind of Croft.
Sure you are. You just don't know it yet.
I will admit that I wasn't sold on this game at first glance, given the patchy history of the Tomb Raider franchise, but in the end, I bought this game in the same month it came out. Why? Because I found out Rhianna Pratchett was the lead writer, and whilst I did have problems with the overall narratives of some of her past efforts, I've always had respect for both her writing style and her personality, so I was eager to see how she would handle writing for one of the most famous female video game characters of all time. But I wasn't able to play the game for about a year because of reasons. And in that time, I saw a lot of heated debates taking place over this game's story. As it turns out, the decision to make this game an origin story, to take Lara back to a time before she was superhuman and overwhelmingly confident, rubbed some people up the wrong way, leading to two strong accusations. The first is that by showing Lara's vulnerability, or as a Crack.com article put it, turning her into a puddle of tears, the game has taken a very sexist turn, shoving womanly emotions onto a strong female icon that was perfectly fine without them. The second accusation is that this portrayal creates ludonarrative dissonance. The idea that because Lara is horrified by killing people, it creates a disconnect between her and the player, since they are encouraged to take down waves of enemies with headshots and other similarly brutal tactics. Let's look at this new Lara Croft. Let's see how Lara Croft deals with a threat on her life from a bunch of big scary men.
Outsider! Give it up!
Not a chance, you bastard.
She's still alive!
Yes! Still alive! That's right! Run, you bastards! I'm coming for you all!
Yeah, she's really weak, alright. Okay, in all seriousness, I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't be offended by. And if you dislike this version of Lara, that's fair enough. But personally, I think these reactions are overblown, even by internet standards. Yes, Lara is a bag of nerves at the start, and yes, she cries on 3 separate occasions. But that's only at the start of the game. I mean, we do remember what character arcs are, right? Starting off weak and developing into stronger people over time? It's okay for female characters to show weakness every once in a while. And I'm sure someone's about to write a comment telling me that you wouldn't see a male character show this kind of vulnerability. So here's my response to that. Yes, it is unfortunately rare, but I still want to see it. Superheroes are fun and all, but I prefer characters who aren't perfect, who have their flaws and have to grow into the hero role instead of spending the entire story showing off how awesome they are. It doesn't matter if the character is male or female. I want to see them develop. Like I said, Tomb Raider is an origin story. It's a tale of a girl who's put into a fight or flight situation and decides to fight. By the end of the game, she's not a naive teenager anymore. Her experiences have hardened her, and now all she can think about is the next adventure. I do have problems with the story of Tomb Raider, but Lara's portrayal is not one of them. On to the narrative itself. The plot works as a structure for an action game. Whilst it can be predictable at times, there are enough creative set pieces and dramatic moments to keep you engaged throughout, so there are no problems there. It's standard but functional. Yamatai is an interesting setting. Once you get out of these scary caves of death, there are a wide variety of locations to explore, and the bits and pieces of background information you can find on the island help to flesh out the story in interesting ways. But the high point of the story for me is the dialogue. One of the reasons I've become a fan of Rhianna Pratchett is that she has mastered a skill I like to call character concentrate. She knows how to express the personality of a character in a small space, allowing you to see what kind of people they are and what relationships they have without flat out telling you the details.
Filler 15, take 3, and action.
Okay, now take a firm grip and then slice him down the belly, like this. Yeah, you got it.
Good Lord, cut! 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 Cut!
Is he coming back?
I'll go get him.
Even if the plots Rhianna has to work with are weak, even if she has very little space to write in, she can still create likeable and memorable characters. The crew of the Endurance could have easily been one-note cannon fodder, but even in the small amount of screen time they have, their distinct personalities shine through, and they become interesting characters you want to protect. Even the enemies you come across are given a wide range of banter that shows them to be more than mindless drones.
She's just one girl! That one girl is kicking our ass! Just keep at it, alright? You can't stop it!
It's little things like this that create a lasting impression on me, and it's what sets Tomb Raider apart from the hundreds of action titles you can find on the shelves. But whilst I do enjoy the characters and setting, I do have my problems with the design and its impact on the story. Whilst exploration and tomb raiding are big parts of the gameplay, the development team also decides that combat is the main focus, which wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't for two issues. A, the enemies are a mad cult that follows all the tired cliches about mad cults, thus making them incredibly uninteresting. And B, the designers don't seem to have any restraint. Waves after waves of these guys are thrown at you, and it starts to get silly when they turn up in almost every corner of the island, even areas that require specialist climbing equipment to reach. Not to mention that the enemies tend to use the same attack patterns and strategies every time, so when the game gets bored and decides to send scores of soldiers in your direction, it creates long stretches of tedium that grind the story to a halt. On top of that, as you continue to fight these guys, you realise just how badly they clash with the initial concept. Yes, these men are stranded on an island that's cut off from the rest of the world and they have to scrounge around for vital resources, but thankfully they have large amounts of working guns, ammunition and body armour, and dynamite! Where would they be without seemingly unlimited supplies of dynamite? This lack of restraint also leaks into the set pieces, and I began to feel bad for Lara because, as time went on, it became clear that this entire island was out to get her. Everything she touches breaks, every cave she's sitting in, every bridge she steps on crumbles around her. Nothing is safe. These set pieces are still engaging, don't get me wrong, but you can't aim for shock and surprise when you keep using the same tactics over and over and over again. After a while, my reactions were no longer, "Oh my god, what's happening? What do I do?" But, really? Really? But despite my personal gripes, I can thoroughly recommend Tomb Raider. It's an engaging action story with likeable characters, interesting lore, and a unique take on Lara Croft as a character. If you've been on the fence about this game so far, I suggest you pick it up and give it a try yourself. I've been the Journey Monkey, and until next time, cheerio.